All right, let's be real for a second. If you've spent more than 5 minutes on the internet lately, you've seen the ads. You know the ones. A smiling person in a clean car, wind in their hair telling you about the ultimate side hustle. They talk about freedom. They talk about being your own boss. They talk about earning on your own terms while showing a digital wallet hitting 3 figures in a single afternoon. It sounds like the dream, right? It's the app economy. It's the future of work. Society tells us that if you've got a car and a smartphone, you're never truly unemployed. You're just an independent contractor waiting for your next gig. The standard advice is simple. Need extra cash? Just hop on the app. It's better than a soul-crushing retail job because you control the clock. But here's the thing, and I say this with the same affection I have from my failed attempt at a sourdough starter back in 2020, that advice is a mathematical dumpster fire. Today, I'm going to prove to you that the majority of Uber drivers aren't just earning less than they think, they're actually paying for the privilege of working for a multi-billion-dollar tech giant. We're going to peel back the interface, look at the cold, hard numbers, and realize that the flexibility you're being sold is actually a high-interest loan against your future. By the time we're done, you'll see why the app economy isn't a ladder. It's a treadmill designed to keep you exactly where you are, only with a lot more mileage on your odometer. So why do we fall for it? Why are millions of people across the globe logging in every morning if the math is so broken? Well, for starters, humans are biologically wired to be terrible at calculating long-term depreciation, but great at noticing immediate dopamine hits. When that notification pings and you see a $20 fare, your brain treats it like a win. It's the slot machine effect. Tech companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars on UI/UX designers whose sole job is to make the app feel like a game. You get badges, you get consecutive trip bonuses, and you get heat maps that make you feel like a hunter chasing prey. It's brilliant, really. It's gamified like ever. We fall for it because, let's be honest, the alternative often feels worse. The traditional job market has become a gauntlet of ghosting recruiters and stagnant wages. The app economy offers an easy button. It's not your fault you're struggling to make the math work. You're literally playing against a supercomputer designed to optimize its own profit by squeezing yours. You're not a partner. You're an algorithm's variable. Let's get into the hidden math, and I promise to keep this more interesting than your high school algebra class, mostly because this actually involves your bank account. Let's look at scenario A, the standard way. This is what the app shows you. You drive for 40 hours a week, you gross, let's say, $1,000. To the untrained eye, that's $25 an hour. Not bad, right? That's more than the local barista or the guy at the warehouse. You feel like a king. You go home, buy a nice dinner, and think you've cracked the code. But this is where the gross versus net trap snaps shut. You see, Uber doesn't pay for your gas. They don't pay for your insurance. They don't pay for your tires, your oil changes, or the fact that your car is losing value every single mile you drive. In the standard way, you ignore the ghost costs. Now let's look at scenario B, the truth. This is where the math gets ugly. If you gross $1,000, you first have to subtract gas. Depending on your car and your city, that's easily $150 to $200. Then comes the self-employment tax, because remember, you're an entrepreneur now, so you get to pay both the employer and employee side of Social Security and Medicare. That's another 15%, down to $650. But here is the silent killer, depreciation. The IRS allows a standard mileage rate, currently around 67 cents per mile, for a reason. That number isn't random. It's an estimate of what it actually costs to operate a vehicle. If you drove 1,000 miles to make that $1,000, the real cost of your car's wear and tear is roughly $670. Wait, do the math. $1,000 gross minus 150 gas minus 150 taxes minus 670 depreciation leaves you with $30 for 40 hours of work. That's 75 cents an hour. You're essentially cashing out the equity in your car to pay for your groceries today. It's not income. It's a liquidation sale of your own assets. Let's talk about Toby. Toby is a guy I like to imagine whenever I see a brand new Camry with a rideshare sticker. Toby lost his middle management job and decided to pivot to ride-sharing while he looked for something else. He was a hustler. He worked the 2 a.m. bar shifts because the surges were great. He loved seeing those $40 fares pop up. For 6 months, Toby felt like he was beating the system. He was making enough to cover his rent and his car payment. But then the reality check hit. At the 7-month mark, Toby needed a new set of tires, $800.
Then his transmission started acting up because of the constant stop-and-go city driving, $3,500. Suddenly, Toby realized that all that profit he thought he was making was actually just money he should have been saving for the inevitable breakdown of his primary tool of production. Toby isn't alone. Research from MIT and other institutions has consistently shown that when you factor in every real-world cost, a staggering percentage of drivers are earning well below the federal minimum wage. Some are even operating at a net loss once the tax bill arrives. They are essentially donating their time and the value of their car to a company that doesn't even have to provide them with a lunch break. So what's the reality check? If the app economy is a trap, what should you actually do? First, we need to stop viewing these apps as jobs and start viewing them as payday loans with wheels. If you are in a desperate spot and need cash tomorrow to keep the lights on, Uber is a tool, but it is an expensive tool. It's a high-interest way to access liquidity. The solution isn't to work more hours. That just accelerates the depreciation of your car and lowers your hourly rate even further. The solution is a defensive financial strategy. If you must drive, you have to treat it like a business, not a game. That means tracking every single mile, even the dead miles between passengers, and setting aside 40% of every check for the car funeral fund. You have to be cynical. You have to realize that the surge isn't for you. It's to ensure the customer doesn't wait. The real actionable alternative is to reclaim your time. The biggest lie of the gig economy is that your time is worth less than the convenience of the platform. Instead of spending 50 hours a week chasing an algorithm that wants to pay you as little as possible, spend 30 hours doing the bare minimum to survive and 20 hours building a skill that isn't commoditized. The app economy thrives on unskilled labor because anyone with a license can do it, which means the price will always be driven down to the absolute floor. You want to move into a space where you are setting the price, not a piece of software in Silicon Valley. Shift your perspective from being a service provider to being an asset manager, and you'll realize your car is an asset that's currently being mismanaged by Uber. In short, the app economy is a brilliant way for tech companies to offload all the risk of business, maintenance, insurance, and depreciation onto the workers while keeping the majority of the upside. It is a system that turns your car's future value into your present-day lunch money. But here's the real question, the one that should keep you up tonight. If these companies are already paying you less than minimum wage while they still need human drivers, what happens to the entire global economy when the driver part of the equation is finally removed?
In a world meticulously designed to monetize your attention, exploit your exhaustion, and turn your natural human empathy into corporate profit, awareness is your only real defense. Modern reality isn't something you have to passively consume. You can change the script. You can choose to look past the convenient interfaces, ask the hard questions, and take radical sovereignty over your choices, your money, and your mind. If you are ready to see through the noise and dissect the hidden systems shaping our daily lives, hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs a reality check, and subscribe to this page. Don't just navigate the system, learn how it works. See you in the next video.